This is big time stuff, Heat fans. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. Miami may have just got great news on a potential trade when it comes to Terry Rozier. Rozier has not been able to be dealt this offseason due to his ongoing investigation with the FBI, due to a potential gambling scheme when he was a member of the Hornets in 22 and 23. Well, we also know this offseason that another big name player, aka Malik Beasley, has been under the same investigation for separate instances when it came to sports gambling. Well, Shams Charania reported on Friday afternoon that Malik Beasley is no longer a target of that investigation by the FBI, which now means that Beasley is likely not going to be suspended by the NBA and could sign with an NBA team in free agency after a very good season with the Detroit Pistons. He will certainly be someone a lot of teams are targeting. But the reason why this now gets parlayed into a Terry Rozier discussion is you have to imagine with Beasley no longer being under investigation, Terry Rozier is close to a decision when it comes to this investigation. Well, it feels like it's either meaning that Rozier is going to be cleared and not be investigated very soon, or he's ultimately going to be found guilty and then he is suspended by the NBA. Therefore, some of his contract gets voided and saves the Miami Heat a lot of money. Either way, with Beasley's resolution finally here, it feels like one for Rozier is on the horizon, which would be big for Miami to potentially finally move on. And when that news happens, we will have you covered as we do every day around the Miami Heat. Subscribe to the channel right now, 77 away from 24,500. Join the Heat Report family now. We know the Heat have been trying to trade Terry Rozier this offseason. He has 1 year left on his deal with $26.6 million. Well, they simply just can't do it. And we put out a video earlier this week on August 19th, to be exact, about the latest report on Terry Rozier, because 5 Reasons Sports Network's Ethan J. Skolnick reported that Rozier is toxic in any trade. We know that he was cleared by the NBA, but he was still under investigation from the FBI. Well, you see in that last little section here by this quote from Ethan that he is considered toxic, and it's really not able for Miami to trade him at this point. And we also know that Miami has been actively shopping him, trying to move off of that expiring contract to find some front court help. And here is the point I'm trying to make. If Terry Rozier is cleared by the FBI, which means he is no longer under investigation by them, he has already been cleared by the NBA, there is no more toxicity hanging around his head. He is just for who he is as a basketball player and NBA asset. There is no legal issues here, which means the Heat could finally, potentially, find a deal for Terry Rozier. And if that is the case, Miami needs to be working the phones extra harder to bring in another member of this front court. They need to add a center to this roster. They made a trade a couple weeks ago involving Haywood Highsmith. If Rozier is cleared, why not be able to find a partner for Rozier to bring in a center to this front court depth? But I want to ask you this. What say you? Will Terry Rozier be cleared soon by the FBI? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your thoughts down in the comments section. I do want to make this note here. If you are not aware, I know most of you are, Miami is $1.7 million under the luxury tax. So trading Terry Rozier would not really benefit them financially. Now, obviously, it could potentially move them farther away from the tax, but when the Heat still had Highsmith on the roster, trading Rozier was always a double whammy. It was always, all right, can we get under the luxury tax because we were 1.5 over, and can we finally get him off the roster? Well, that's not an issue at this point. So you can make a deal as long as you don't take more than $1.7 million back in that deal to stay under the luxury tax and upgrade this roster. The three centers that I have always mentioned when it comes to adding via trade and moving Terry Rozier are these three. Nikola Vucevic, Yusuf Nurkic, and Robert Williams. Why do I say these three? Well, these three don't really have spots on their current team's roster. The Bulls have been trying to move Vucevic for 2 years now. He makes $20 million, so you can make a move that is close enough in salary with Rozier. Yusuf Nurkic is way behind on his respective roster, behind Lauri Markkanen, behind Walker Kessler, behind Kyle Filipowski. He makes $20 million. Robert Williams in Portland, he's behind Donovan Clingan. He's behind Hanson Yang, a couple young centers the Blazers have invested in. Plus, he makes about 14 mils, so combining that with a contract like Matisse Thybulle would equal Terry Rozier's. But as I have consistently said when looking at this roster, and I hate to beat a dead horse, this roster is improved from last year, in my opinion, especially post-Jimmy Butler trade. But it has a glaring hole, and that is in its depth at center. You have Bam and Ware both potentially being starters, but you have no center to back them up. You can stagger their minutes, yes, but we're looking at Nikola Jovic. We're looking at a small ball Kashad Johnson as your big man. That is an issue because you can't stagger Bam and Ware forever, and if one misses time, to say 4 or 5 games, well, then who's your backup center? I mean, you got no one. So when I'm looking at this Heat roster, not only do I think Miami desperately needs to add a big man via trade, but I'm also thinking that there is a pathway here to where it would benefit Miami to ultimately change the starting lineup. I and many others have projected it to be Ware, Bam, Hero, Powell, and Wiggins. The best starting lineup for Miami might actually be something different. Bringing that topic up in here in just 1 second. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the Heat Report, the daily fantasy sports platform I play every day. And yeah, basketball season isn't here, but football season is upon us with the regular season getting underway in a couple weeks, but college football is already here. Get in on the action with some of your favorite players, whether it's Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow. It's so easy. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more. They also invented the Flex Play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect, double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. They also offer some discounted player stat totals. For example, first day of college football, week 0, more than Avery Johnson half a passing yards. I took that today. I paired that up with some Dolphins preseason finale action, less than Jalen Wright rushing yards, more than Nick Mullins passing yards, and more than Quinn Ewers passing yards. Take advantage of the specials PrizePicks gives you and pair that up with some other picks that you have. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Links in the description and comments of today's video. PrizePicks, run your game. I briefly alluded to it in a video that we put out over the past couple days when it comes to Nikola Jovic being an X factor for this Heat basketball team in 2025. But I feel as if I'm coming to this conclusion more and more. And I know it might be a hot take because a lot of people want to see what Kel'el Ware and Bam could do as the starting front court duo once again. And I also want to see that. But until we have a backup center, I think Jovic should be the starting 4 on this basketball team. Why would I start Nikola Jovic? 1, it creates more spacing on the offensive end. It gives you more versatility on the offensive end as well because he can handle it. He can lead a transition opportunity. He can also knock down some shots from beyond the arc at a very consistent rate and threaten an opposing defense. Ware has shown the ability to do that. So is Bam, but they don't threaten the opposing defense with their floor spacing and three-point shooting. Plus, it makes the Heat rotation way more balanced. Think of a starting lineup of Hero, Powell, Wiggins, Bam, and Jovic. Well, then now your top 2 players off the bench are Mitchell and Ware, but you can stagger the minutes between Bam and Ware much more easily now. And this is not me saying that they can't play together. They would certainly still play together throughout stretches of the game, but it just creates a more balanced lineup. And with how well Nikola Jovic has been playing for Team Serbia overseas right now in these Eurobasket exhibitions and when it fully gets underway, it's hard for me not to really think about starting him. In his most recent game against Slovenia, with a team that Luka Doncic plays for, Nikola Jovic absolutely went nuts, having 18 points, 7 rebounds, shooting 7 of 8 from the field, and 1 of 2 from 3 in 18 minutes of play. Like, producer Coop isn't going to like this statement, but he outplayed Luka Doncic, and he gave him no business a little bit. He has been attacking the rim a lot lately. It feels if there is a different mindset that he has, either for Team Serbia or just in general. He's not settling and just hanging out the three-point arc. He's getting out in transition, finding a way to get to the rim, using his long strides and length to overpower his opponents. He's attacking the rim. And in his last 3 Eurobasket games, we just mentioned the 18-point game he had on 7 of 8 shooting. The previous 2, 22 points on 64% shooting, and then 10 points and 4 boards on 71% shooting. He has turned a corner, at least for Team Serbia. He's fully healthy, and it's showing. And we know that Erik Spoelstra is actually in Europe right now to support Nikola Jovic, as well as players like Simone Fontecchio for Italy, as well as Pelle Larsson for Sweden. There is a lot of support from Spo for these guys. And Jovic showed Spo some love, saying, I was definitely motivated. He's one of the best coaches in the world, if not the best. He went the extra mile to come see me. I definitely want to show that I'm improved and that I'll be even better next season. And all I got to say is this. I need the 4th-year Jovic breakout baby. I need it more than I need air. I was so high on him when Miami selected him in the first round with the 27th pick, showed some flashes in Summer League, but then was stuck in the G League all year working on his body and getting some reps. Perfectly fine with that. Year 2, started in the G League, starts to come on late, shows his ability to really produce as well as be a versatile piece. Then year 3 last season, super excited for him to finally have a carved out starting role potentially, gets hurt, only plays in 46 games, and doesn't get to have a full season. Jovic needs to play a full season this year. He needs to stay healthy. And based on what I see in Eurobasket, I know the competition isn't as good as in the NBA, but if he plays with that same type of aggressive mindset offensively and is freed up by Coach Spo, I have to imagine his best year to come is this one. So let me know. Take Erik Spoelstra's job. Would you start Nikola Jovic over Kel'el Ware? Because that's who it would be. Wiggins is going to start. Bam is going to start. I mean, that's just who it is. So it would either be Jovic or Ware. Which one would you start? Let me know. Type S if you do Jovic. Type R if you'd make it a reserve, a.k.a. doing it for Kel'el Ware. All right, last part I wanted to show on this episode is this, because this is intriguing. Pictured right here is Nikola Jovic's agent having dinner with Coach Erik Spoelstra and obviously one of the top front office members, scouting, one of the biggest voices in terms of who the Heat draft, Adam Simon, also developing. Both of them were overseas talking with Jovic's agent. Why is this important? Well, Nikola Jovic is entering the last year of his rookie contract. This is year 4. He is a restricted free agent next year, so it would be very likely that he returns to the Heat after the season. But Nikola Jovic is also extension eligible. He is a player that the Heat have to make a tough decision on. Do they wait to see what happens this year? Do they want to extend him early and try to get him at a discount? What could potentially happen? If they can get Jovic on a 3-year, $45 million extension, keeping him in Miami for at least the next 4 seasons, I would be very much in on that. But we'll keep you updated. And if Nikola Jovic does sign an extension with the Miami Heat, we will certainly have you covered with a video. Subscribe, join the channel, and I'll see you with a video tomorrow. Go Heat!